Guess who's back? Back again. Brother run. Tell a friend. Guess who's back and still black? Guess who's back and still black? Guess who's biz back and still biz black or red? It's your main. Your main. Brother run. And this is We All Be News Free Dixie for the 21st century. That's News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I just want to come right quick. Come right quick. I'm not trying to get your heads out the gutter, man. What I mean, I just wanted to do a live and get it, in the words of Brother Malcolm, make it plain about what's going on today from my perspective. Really, they have been taking fun out of these social media lives for me. Uh, I'm thankful for the folks that still believe in We All Be. And once again, let me reiterate April. This is no April Fool's joke, but We All Be, the movement was born April Fool's Day, 2006 in New Orleans. So this is our birth month. I know we talked about We All Be radio, TV, news. My first podcast was January the 7th, 2007. But the We All Be movement began on April Fool's Day, 2006, down in New Orleans and Nolens. I actually went down there on a charter bus. Reverend Lasimba Gray, well-respected black church figure here in the city of good abode, Memphis, Tennessee. He had a charter bus for us to go down to New Orleans. Whoever wanted to go, you didn't have to be a church member. I'm not a member of anybody church right now. I ain't been a member of nobody. Last time I was a member of somebody's church, I was in high school. That's my childhood church, Greater Abyssinia Church out there in South Memphis. Shout out to them. But Lasimba Gray is a well-respected religious figure and community activist, advocate, public historian here in Memphis, Tennessee. He had a bus charter for people who wanted to go to New Orleans to protest the early voting. So, we all know what happened. And we remember what happened in Black August of 2005 and down in Nolens. Hurricane FEMA and Katrina hit New Orleans. Them levees got busted up. People said they heard a kaboom, kabow, kablam. Whatever happened, they try to wash the whole city of New Orleans away, whoever they may be. And so a lot of the residents were moved out of New Orleans into places like Utah and all over the place. A lot of these people never been outside New Orleans, let alone their neighborhoods per se. Then they get moved not only out of the city, but also out the state to different places around the country. There's foreign and alien to them. Many never returned back to New Orleans, which was a chocolate city. They never returned back to it. And what's strange about the whole New Orleans thing, I don't even have to do any research to know that there are still a lot of people unaccounted for from August of 2005. We are still missing people from August of 2005. I don't even have to do a research on that. I know that we are still missing people. And this is the problem with so-called black community, black Americas. We're not focused enough to see things through to get a real solution to our issues. Like, have they even arrested anybody connected to that Shanquilla Robinson situation in Mexico? Was any of her so-called frenemies arrested for that? Last time I remember, they had Ben Crump trying to get them people caught. I mean, we down to Ben Crump. Back in the day, they had Bass Reeves. We got Ben Crump. No disrespect to Ben Crump. I'm saying, where is the black leadership? Where is the black leadership? Has anybody been arrested and deported or exported, whatever, detained and taken back, extradited back to New Mexico to stand for the murder or the femicide, whatever they call it in Mexico, Shanquilla, however you pronounce her name, Robinson, okay? Then you got the situation, Rasheem Carter, down in Mississippi, deep Mississippi. He reportedly was being chased by white men in pickup trucks He called his mom on the phone. Mom said she was on the phone when he went to the police station to ask for help from the law authorities. They wouldn't give him any help. He disappeared October 2nd, 2022. They found his remains in the forest down there, November 2nd, 2022, skeletal remains. So he was exposed to the element. He probably was taken care of that day, October 2nd. There have been claims that he was decapitated. The sheriff and other law officials down there said that it doesn't look like foul play, that maybe some wild animals got to his remains and dragged his body, his carcass, and spread it all around. E-I-E-I-O. But we don't know because there's nobody to hold these people accountable. And once again, Ben Crump is there on the scene saying this is a homicide, that he was decapitated, and we want justice for Rasheem Carter. Now, what is interesting about the Rasheem Carter case? I want to know. I'm curious about doing this case, but YouTube, they don't like me doing cases like this. Case in point, the We All Be movement was really the only organization to investigate the mysterious hanging of Frederick Jermaine Carter. It's a young black man about the same age as Rasheem Carter, around 25, 26 years of age. I think Rasheem Carter was 25, and he had a little baby daughter. And Frederick Jermaine Carter was, I believe, 26, if not 25. They found this brother hanging from a tree in a white neighborhood in Greenwood, Mississippi, right by the Tallahatchie River, where they pulled the remains of Emmett Till out of. The same river they pulled the remains of Emmett Till out of. That's where they found his brother's body near. In this white neighborhood, like white affluent, I think, neighborhood, they had a dog kennel in the back where he was hanging from. He was hanging from a tree. He was nearby a dog kennel. They also had a nature path where walkers and joggers would go. So it was like a very busy spot that his body was found hanging from a tree. And I talked to the county coroner, and she said that he was dead for at least, according to reports, 24 to 48 hours. But the problem with that was that there was nobody hanging from a tree that morning. And officials said it was suicide. A lot of people said, oh, he killed himself. But if the coroner said he was dead for at least 24 to 48 hours, and there was no body hanging from the tree that morning, and they found his body around noon, hanging from the tree near the dog kennel by the Tallahatchie River where they pulled Emmett Till's body out of. Did he walk there? Was he a zombie and walked there and hanged himself? I mean, like, I did a lot of work into that case. I had talked to the sheriff, the county coroner, the DA, family members, lawyers, and other interested parties connected to the case. YouTube has made it its business to remove all the video work I done on the case. I even interviewed the state medical examiner at the time, Dr. A.L.L Shaker, who was a world-renowned forensic scientist. This case, from my understanding, cost him his job. I verified, like, it was interesting because the boy was found hanging from a tree on a Friday, early December. I want to say it was the first Friday in December of 2010. It made USA Today, right? Nation of Islam got involved. On their final call that month, they had the image of the young black man hanging from a tree, the actual image of him hanging on a tree or from a tree on the front of the final call. They actually helped organize his homegoing celebration with the blessings of his family, with his mom. His mom was from Massachusetts, but her people is from Mississippi. So she moved back to Mississippi from Massachusetts, whatever. And he was born, I think, in Massachusetts. He wasn't originally from Mississippi, but his people, like his mom, people and stuff, they were from Mississippi. So Nation of Islam helped organize the homegoing celebration. They actually paid for a second autopsy for the boy. I think it was done by a Nigerian American doctor in Nebraska. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the results of the second autopsy was. This is back in 2011, right? 2010, 2011. Late 2010, early 2011. The thing about it was the first autopsy results didn't come back for a while. And what happened to me, how I got involved was that I started making calls to different state departments in Mississippi to try to find out what's going on with Frederick Jermaine Carter's original autopsy report. I finally was able to connect with the medical state department, the medical state examiner office, and it was weird because like, what happened? I either called him or he called me, Dr. Adele Shaker. He's an African. He's from Africa. He got I want to say Kenyan and Egyptian background, but he's world renowned forensic scientist. Like when they did the mass exhumations during the Second Iraq War, he was one of the forensic scientists that looked at look at the mass graves and all that stuff over there in Iraq. But he had and he was a state medical examiner for long. He just got hired that last fall of 2010, but he was backlogged. But I remember him. I don't know if he called me or I called him, and I recorded him because he said, "Well, I just sent out my findings to the family. I just mailed it out today." And he said his decision on manner of death was a hanging or it needs what do you say? Something like a hanging that need to be further researched. He didn't say it was he did himself in. He said this is like basically was saying I can't rule it that because it needs to be further investigated because yes, he was found hanging from a tree, but he didn't say that he actually did it. He said it needs to be further investigated. And by him doing that, it opened the door to a possible other conclusion about what happened to that young man. And so I interviewed him on the phone. He gave me the information. I uploaded it to my YouTube channel, We All BTV, and it went woke viral. I don't call it viral because you got the viral where you get the millions and millions of views. To me, woke viral when you have something of substance that may get 10,000 views. If you got something that got substance and it gets like over 10,000 views, that's woke viral for me. So I come up with woke viral. So the brothers from Nation of Islam, they start calling me and telling me thank me for like breaking this for the case. So now the momentum picked up. This is back in March of 2011, so it's a momentum picked up, on that case. And I was running the fool's errand. I got really emotionally attached to the case and also committed. I wasn't on anybody's payroll. It's amazing that I've been doing the We All Be movement being in existence for 17 years this month. And I never, ever made any real money off of this. I was doing it because I was doing it as a service for humanity. This is activism, artivism, also infotainment, education, empowerment. I want to help Black people. And sometimes when you help Black people, we tend to get in our own way. And you got to really have a heart for our people, to really love our people, to serve our people, because it's hard to give your best to a people that can't appreciate the best in themselves. So I actually made a full errand by doing this because I felt that this case could have been solved, and it could have been solved. And yet people sabotage. It was sabotage. And then people told me, "Oh, run, got to be careful." Man, I was going deep in Mississippi and stuff. Like, when I think about it today, I don't say I'm still alive. I was doing stuff. They could have disappeared me easily. Because I was doing it because I said, God is on my side. I'm doing it for my people. I want us to get justice. Same thing with the Jena 6 case. Like, I was one of the first people to interview some of the key players in the Jena 6, and I befriended Michael Bell's father, Marcus Jones, who told me to connect with Dick Gregory, and the rest is history. And Marcus Jones is a righteous ancestor now who died under questionable circumstances post Jena 6 movement. You had a couple of people that got killed connected to the Jena 6 movement. Has been on, and these are some of the people who were the most outspoken about the Jena 6 movement. They were relatives of the Jena 6. See, we don't see that. I can't take us serious because, like, you got stuff like this happen. Where's the resolution? Where's the follow through? Why are we not putting our foot on these folks' necks or our knees on their necks like it did George Floyd to get what we want? because that Frederick Jermaine Carter case could have been solved, but it was sabotaged from within. I was burnt out by the case, and now over 10 years later, you got a brother named Rasheem Carter in Mississippi, who was probably the victim, more than likely the victim of foul play and of a cover up. And my thing is, if we was serious about getting just us for justice, justice for just us, if we was really serious about getting justice for just us, we would have did right by Frederick Jermaine Carter, by Emmett Lewis Till, by so many people that get lost. And all we do is we want to make podcasts and TikToks and all that stuff, and it's like it just take the fun and the passion out of these things. Like, I'm just up here. Why I'm up here doing this? Because everybody's running their mouth. They the expert on everything, and I'm one of them people that like to run my mouth. But I also like to offer something of substance when I do what I do here. And there's a lot on my mind, and I could go live a lot of times, but I don't. But this stuff bothers me. When I hear about Rasheem Carter, because I had saw Ben Crump again last week at the Civil Rights Museum where they killed King. Used to be Lorraine Motel, and he's involved in the Rasheem Carter case. And I asked him and his right hand man, his investigator, this brother named Kareem Ali. I know Kareem from dealing with the Frederick Jermaine Carter case. He's a brother in the Nation of Islam. Interesting dude. It's funny, the Nation of Islam, they all know who I am. I go around the country. Hey, you brother Ron. Can I speak to Farrakhan? No, brother Ron. But why y'all won't let me? Y'all let Baba Wata speak to Farrakhan. Y'all let Nick Cannon and Kanye West and y'all won't let me speak to no Farrakhan. What y'all scared of? Y'all know me. All these Nation of Islam dudes, I go everywhere. Hey, brother Ron, how you doing? I don't even know who they are. Hey, you brother Muhammad. Like you go to a Nation of Islam meeting, and you go in the room and say, hey, brother Muhammad, about 50 people turn around. What they tell you? Hey, brother Muhammad, about 50 folks turn around. Which brother Muhammad? I don't know. Actually met a brother. This is a real story. When I went to Dick Gregory's Tribeca screening of his documentary that came out of Showtime about a couple of summers ago, I went up there. I went there around Father's Day, though. Father's Day of 2021 weekend. And Dr. Kristen Gregory, Baba Dick Gregory, one of his sons, invited me to come up to New York to see the debut screening of the documentary that was premiered on Showtime. And I met a police officer up there. His name was Ronald 49X. He was part of Malcolm X's at one point, Temple number 7, Mosque number 7 up in New York. He was a Muslim, black Muslim brother. But he went by Ronald 49X. And he was a terrorist, but he was talking my ear off. I just came out the restroom trying to get back to the festivities. He started talking me up. Come to find out, Ronald 49X. My name is Ronald, and we both were born April 23rd. I came, and Papa Dick Gregory might have had a good laugh about that. I met some dude named Ronald who was born April 23rd like I was, but he's a little bit older than me. He was in his 50s. But he was Ronald 49X at Temple number 7 up in New York at one point. So shout out to brother Ronald 49X. If y'all don't know if he's watching or whatever, it's been almost 2 years ago. But anyway, I asked brother Kareem and brother Ben Crump, is Rasheem Carter related to Frederick Jermaine Carter? And Ben Crump said, well, he didn't know why I was talking to him. Then brother Kareem said, yeah, this brother right here, he did some great investigative work with the Nation. I said, I didn't even work with the Nation. I wasn't even a member. I didn't even get a bean pie from the Nation for doing the work or a free final call or anything. I was just doing it because I love my people and I wanted justice to be done. But now I see how the game is really played. Because it's not about getting justice, it's about getting the bag. You can't have. See, the thing about it is, if you really want justice, it's not just about securing the bag. Justice is not just about securing a bag. And that's the problem. And I don't know, man. I want to get involved because YouTube, like I said, they're removing all those Frederick Jermaine Carter videos that I did, and it has said they feel that I might self-harm myself. I'm saying these videos are over a decade old, and all I did was ask questions that weren't popular. I was speaking to law enforcement. and family members connected to Frederick Jermaine Carter about what happened to our dear brother Frederick Jermaine Carter. Now I know the stepfather, Llewellyn Evans. I got some interesting vibes off him. See, the thing about Frederick Jermaine Carter was that he was on a painting gig. He worked with his stepfather. They did contract work around the state, I guess, in that area. They were from Sunflower County, but they found his dead body in LaFleur County, in Greenwood, the city of Greenwood, town of Greenwood. And the story goes that he was on a painting job with his stepfather, Llewellyn Evans. Llewellyn left him at the scene of their job. He said he had to go make a run to get some supplies or whatever. So he left Frederick there allegedly at the scene of their work. When he comes back, Frederick is not there. He's gone. I think that was a Wednesday. So 2 days later, he's found hanging from a tree. But the coroner said he was dead for at least 24 to 48 hours. But they saying it's a suicide. But he wasn't there that morning hanging from a tree when people was walking and jogging and riding their bikes, and there was a dog kennel back there. So you had a lot of human activity back there, but they did not see a body hanging from a tree until the middle of the day. So make it make sense. So he killed himself and walked himself and hanged himself from the tree. But he was dead for a day or 2 days. And Llewellyn Evans, from my understanding, he claimed that he called the sheriff deputy office. And I talked to the sheriff, Ricky Banks. I think his name Ricky Banks. And it was weird. It was surreal because when I was talking to him, I could hear the theme song of Andy Griffith Show playing in the background. This the sheriff, been sheriff for like decades, literally. And sheriff in the South, if you're a sheriff in the South and you got God, you control everything. Like you look at, for example, the guys who've been accused of killing Michael Jordan is dead. The black dude, I don't think he did it. He more than likely is an accessory after the fact. I talked to him on the phone a couple of times before Ballard. He reached out to me. He reached out to me actually right after the NBA Finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers when they came all the way back in historic win. He called me right after that, and I was like really on the outs with Baba Dick for a minute because he went off on me, and then he said he didn't want to talk to me no more. But anyway, I got back in his good graces because the black dude that was involved in the James Jordan situation. There's a documentary out about that documentary series out. This man was railroaded. He didn't kill Michael Jordan's father. Matter of fact, there's a lot of funny business going on with Michael Jordan's father that Last Dance did not address. They overlooked. The sheriff at the time was allegedly connected to drug trafficking. Like his founder was in the drug trafficking business. The I-95 corridor is a busy drug trafficking corridor. You know, like going through the East Coast, going from the east up east down to Florida and all that. The I-95. So allegedly, one of his relatives was involved in the drug trade, and maybe Michael Jordan daddy was trying to get some drugs at a hotel. It went south. They killed him at the hotel. Then they dumped his body in the swamp. Because my thing about that thing, people should raise questions about that because Michael Jordan's father had expensive dental work, and then he was in a brand new Lexus that his son brought him. They had, you could trace back where the Lexus came from in Chicago, whatever. They cremated his body. Now, what makes you, because they could have really accessed his dental records and found out who he really was, but why would they want to cremate the body? Well, to hide the evidence, the manner how he was killed and how he actually died. And so the brother was screwed over by his lawyers. He didn't have wise counsel, and he really should not be in prison right now. It's unfortunate. I spoke to the brother a couple times on the phone. Highly intelligent brother. He was really into Dr. Amos Wilson and some other of our righteous ancestor intellectuals. You tell he was very intelligent, but just made bad choices, and choices have consequences. And I got on a tangent. And Michael Jordan movie I heard was good about the history, the story behind the Air Jordans is worth watching from my understanding. But anyway, I don't know how to jump in there. But like getting back, this Rasheem Carter case, right? And I talk about Frederick Jermaine Carter. I don't want to get involved in these things because I know what they're about. I'm really about solving them. Nobody, these people don't want these things solved. Even folks that look like us don't want these things solved, which is unfortunate because they could be solved. It's like with Sandra Bland. Y'all keep on talking about reparations. Nobody can take you seriously because we don't even know what really happened to Sandra Bland. We can't even hold people accountable who got rid of her. We know good well she didn't do that to herself. But yet we make excuses. And that's gonna be what's going on 8 years ago. Could be 8 years ago. This year that Sandra Bland was taken out here under questionable circumstances. See, I can't take us seriously when we can't get hold people accountable about what happened to Sandra Bland. I saw the Honorable Sheila Jackson Lee last week at the Civil Rights Museum, of course, because it's like, April 4th, King 55, all that stuff. But Sheila Jackson Lee is very personable. She is a very kind lady. I like her. She got good energy. I don't care for her politics. I do not care for her politics. She's supposed to be helping us get reparations, but Black folks, we don't hold nobody accountable. She just Auntie Sheila. Auntie, we don't ask nothing of these so-called leaders. We don't ask nothing of people that represent us. We don't give them no walking or marching orders or nothing. We just want to take selfies with them. Yeah, I took a selfie. I took a couple of selfies. It was fun. And I got her contact information. I may have her on the show. But my thing is, we don't want nothing. And the powers that be know what they're doing. Because who did she replace? She replaced Mickey Leland. I told y'all about Mickey Leland. He was the representative from there, what she represent. He was leading the Black caucus in Congress at one point. This brother was wearing his afro, his dashiki. He talking about, I want to end world hunger. This guy was serious. He said, I want to end world hunger. I wanted to end poverty. He was serious. He helped form organizations. He had initiatives. And guess what they did to him? They crashed his plane into a side of a mountain in East Africa and waited before they got to him. They made sure that he was dead by the time they got to him. So Mickey Leland could have been alive when initially the plane hit the mountain, but the powers that be said, we're going to wait a little minute. We're going to make sure he did. Now look what's going on in Africa today. Because this brother had a connection to the motherland. Like, Malcolm was trying to do. So y'all keep on wanting to talk about speeches and how Malcolm made you feel and how he looked. And y'all ain't even listen to what he said. He told y'all about these liberals. He told y'all about what they do. He told y'all. And that's what got him killed. Now, how he looked and how he sounded, what he was saying, they got him killed. It's like with Dr. King. Let me get into it. I think I warmed y'all a little bit. Let's talk about this Trump thing. Okay, let's talk about the Trump thing. Dick Gregory. The last time I interviewed Baba Dick Gregory was April 4th, 2017. It's the 49th anniversary of Dr. King's assassination. And we were just not that far away. We was downtown Memphis, I believe at the Sheraton in his hotel room. Not that far away from where they crucified Dr. King. And Dick was in an interesting state of mind, very prophetic. He looked up a part of an Old Testament prophet with the beard and whatnot. Very wise, very interesting guy. When I look back on that interview now, it feels like he knew that he was going to be around next year, that his time was, winding down on this planet. And Dick did a book about the Dr. King assassination with Mark Lane, the lawyer who did the first real serious work about the Kennedy assassination, Rush to Judgment. Mark Lane died in 2016 in Charlottesville, of all places. But him and Dick did some work together. So they did a book called Codename Zorro, because the FBI used to call Dr. King Zorro. That was his nickname with the FBI. He was Zorro. And they talk about Operation Lantern Spike. Military intelligence, they came in to Memphis on March 28th. That was the last march that Dr. King led that led to the disaster. And then they got out of here by April 12th. Because they were doing some type of cleaning up operation. They was trying to neutralize witnesses and stuff like that. And a good book to read about all this stuff now would be The Plot to Kill King by Dr. William Pepper. The Plot to Kill King by Dr. William Pepper. And we actually interviewed Dr. William Pepper on this platform. We heard him speak as well at the National Civil Rights Museum. We did all this back in 2017. And before they could kill King physically, they had to kill his character. By the time Dr. King died, he was one of the least liked or admired Americans in the country because of the mainstream corporate media, because they created a narrative after 1963 that showed Dr. King as unpatriotic, as a threat to America. He didn't support the war at the end. You know, he came out against the war April 4th, 1967 at Riverside Church in New York. And he was dead April 4th, 1968 on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, in front of room 306. 3 plus 6 is what? 9. 3 plus 6 is 9. And this is a thing that's weird that people keep on saying he used to stay at the Lorraine. He didn't stay at the Lorraine. He used to stay at the Holiday Inn Rivermont Hotel. The Holiday Inn was invented in Memphis. See, Memphis is a very interesting place. The Holiday Inn was invented here. August Wilson had the first Holiday Inn in Memphis on Summer Avenue back in the 50s. So Holiday Inn was invented in Memphis, and Dr. King used to come to Memphis and stay at the Holiday Inn. Now, from my understanding, he would have meetings at the Lorraine, but didn't stay really overnight at the Lorraine Motel. But I saw a clip not too long ago, some years ago, several years ago, archival clip of local news station that basically made sure they let everybody know what room Dr. King was staying in. They said Dr. King was staying in the Lorraine Motel, room 306 or 306. They said it on the news. I never heard of such a thing. They tell the man's exact whereabouts. This is before Instagram, show me your location and all that on Facebook and Twitter. They told on the news where Dr. King was staying, what room he was staying in. And the crazy thing about that, like I said, Dr. King stayed at the Holiday Inn Rivermont. And his room was in a secure location, and somebody from his inner circle moved his room to the balcony spot, room 306. Like his room could not be that accessible at first to whoever, but they made sure it was accessible to whoever going to do what they're going to do. So they moved it from a different room to that room. And because they were race shaming Dr. King and staying in Lorraine. Lorraine was like on the track, you know what I'm saying? Like Lorraine, I mean, you had entertainers back in the day, like a Sam Cooke or Nat King Cole back in the day. They'll stay at the Lorraine because of Jim Crow and all that stuff. And I remember I talked to was that Eddie Floyd, Knock on Wood? Knock on Wood. Dun, 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 Stax legend. He told me that, you know, they used to stay at the Lorraine, and a lot of the hits that they wrote at Stax, they helped create the Lorraine Motel. Like they go to Lorraine, they'll work out these songs and they become hits. But a lot of that stuff they did, they were writing a lot of their music, getting inspiration at the Lorraine. So why did they want to get rid of Dr. King? Well, Dr. King stopped talking about things that wasn't too big of a deal. You know, and then he started talking about some real heavy stuff. Like he started talking about our foreign policy, our economic policy. He wanted to share the wealth, right? He wanted to end the war in Vietnam. He thought it was, you know, poor business. It's like, it's just, no. And then he would say stuff like, well, good for me to be able to sit in a restaurant and I can't afford a hamburger. Like in his last speech on April 3rd at Mason Temple, not that far from where I'm at. He talked about boycotting Wonders Bread and Hearts Bread and Coca-Cola and all these folks that'll take your money but won't give you employment. He talking about investing in black businesses like black banks and insurance companies and stuff like that. See, I was trying to shortchange Dr. King like he was just a dreamer, but he was a thinker. He was not just a dreamer, but also a thinker. He was a man of ideas. He was a visionary. You know, he talked about the mountaintop, but he also talked about the blueprint to claim the mountaintop as a people. He talked about group economics. He's not just talking about just going to the top and feeling good. No, we all go to church or whatever and get that good old sermon. You hooping and hollering, you dancing, you speaking in tongues. But when church is over, you still got bills due. You about to get evicted. You know, got baby mama drama. The world don't stop, right? You know what I'm saying? You want fantasy world. You want Wakanda, but you live in You dreaming of Wakanda, but they ain't what you living. You understand? And Dr. King started getting away because like they could not allow him to go to the poor people campaign. They could not allow him to lead the poor people campaign to DC. Now let's compare and contrast. I was thinking about this earlier on April 4th. Can a real poor people campaign? Can a real poor people's campaign be sponsored by corporations, by American corporations? Because they got this new poor people's campaign. Reverend William Barber. I'm gonna give him credit what credit is due. He's a very electrifying speaker. He's very good at speech making. He's brilliant. But his poor people campaign got corporate sponsors, right? Did he get a MacArthur grant? You get one of them genius grants. So he's recognized by the powers that be, by the elites. But how can a poor people campaign be sponsored by corporations? Because corporations are interested in themselves, but you think about Dr. King spent most of his adult life and career. He was only 39 when they killed him. But he spent most of his time trying to raise money. They never had enough money to do things they need to do in the movement. Dr. King didn't want to spend no money on his family. I think he was forced to buy his family a new home or something like that. I don't know. It's like all type of weird stuff, man. But Dr. King wasn't in it for the money. He was in it for the people, for the justice. He wanted to do right by people. It was for the moral universe, the arc, and all that stuff. Yada yada yada. But they killed him because Dr. King, on some level, was naive about what he was getting into, but he wasn't. They allowed Reverend William Bob to bring his poor people campaign to D.C. last year. They was allowed to speak at the Lincoln Memorial. They made sure Dr. King didn't bring his version of the poor people campaign, because guess what? It would have been a poor people's revolution in D.C. You want to see an insurrection. If they would have allowed Dr. King to lead the poor people campaign to DC, there would have been an insurrection. So y'all don't even know what an insurrection looked like. Y'all, January 6th was like a riot, not even a riot, like I don't know what it was. No insurrection. Y'all don't have no idea. We so ahistorical. Study what an insurrection looked like. Go back to 1898 Wilmington, North Carolina. That's what an insurrection was and is. That's the classic textbook version of the insurrection. That was not an insurrection that happened on January 6th, and that's BS. But our people are so ahistorical, man. That's why I still like doing this from time to time, talking about this stuff. But Dr. King, the reason why they had to kill him in Memphis was because he would bring almost 1 million people to D.C. that he couldn't control. These are poor white people from the Appalachians. They will be Native Americans from the reservation, black folks from the ghettos, people from all walks of life that have been dispossessed, been counted out, that have been marginalized, will been coming with Dr. King to D.C. But this was not like it was 5 years earlier with the March on Washington, when it was like, we getting a permit. D.C.'s a sundown town. Y'all got to get through by a certain time, be the hell out of here. The March on Washington was controlled by the Kennedy administration, by the U.S. government. Malcolm X did brilliant analysis on the farce on Washington and his message to the grassroots. Y'all talk about Battle of the Bullet, but I love the message to the grassroots, which was done November 1963 in Detroit. I always listen to the message to the grassroots every anniversary of November 10th. I believe it was done November 10th, 1963. People say, well, you mean Battle of the Bullet? No, I mean message to the grassroots. One of my favorite Malcolm X's speeches of all time. I also love Prospects for Freedom, something he done right before he got killed. I think it was January 1965. But like Malcolm said, the Negro Revolution will be controlled by foxy white liberals and the government, but the Black Revolution will be controlled by God. What Dr. King was bringing in the spring of '68 to DC was going to be the Black Revolution. Not just Black people, but Black folk. We are the moral compass of the universe, really. We are the original people, so everybody sprung out of us. That's why I tell people it's not racist to take care of Black people, because when you take care of Black people, the blueprint for taking care of Black people be the blueprint of liberation for all people. So you take care of the original people and everything will take care of itself eventually. You think about the civil rights movement. How many other groups outside of black folks benefited from affirmative action, which was originally meant for American black people? Lyndon Baines Johnson made affirmative action for American black folks who were affected by the Institute of Slavery and Jim Crow racism. But yet, they changed it for all so-called people of color and minorities. I mean, minority could be a white woman. Minority could be a white gay person. Minority could be a white woman, gay, handicapped person. People of color could be anybody. But something for black people. Where is that something for black people? But we did have things, but over time they've been changed to fit other agendas. So this is the problem. And we don't have real leadership to enforce our demands. And really, leadership is not the representatives in Congress, but the people in the so-called communities and the neighborhoods who need to be organized and get our resources together to send representatives that represent our interests. See, the people that are in Congress are not representative of our interests. We didn't send them. We did not sign the checks to pay for them. So they don't represent our interests. This is why, Sheila Jackson Lee, she'd be nice to have coffee with, but she can't do nothing for me because she's been bought and paid for by other interests. Because if she's over reparations and we still haven't got no real, we still need more research after 400 years. But you look at Ukraine, they get all the money. They got an open checkbook for Ukraine and illegals and the alphabet soup people and everybody else but black people. There's always some excuse, and then that what they tell us: vote, 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 vote every year. Vote for what? I remember a state representative from Memphis told us this 2 years ago around April 4th of 2021. At an event April 4th, I believe, 2021. And around the Dr. King assassination thing. And he told us, said, look, man, I know you sent us to Nashville. We can't do nothing for y'all. Y'all got to pray to Jesus. That's what he told us. Like, we take time out our schedule to make sure he stayed getting a paycheck for years. And the best he could do for us is say, pray to Jesus. That's all I can do. We can't do nothing for y'all. I was like, wow. So this is a black representative from the blackest part of Tennessee. Say he can't do nothing for black folks, but we could do something for him by keeping him in office as a do nothing. This is ridiculous. And you got these elders, they so weird with it. But I bring up King because King was character assassinated by the news. He was made to be public enemy number one of the American Republic. Don't take my word for it. Just look at the archives of the Washington Post and the New York Times. They treated King like they treated Malcolm X. Like you read the New York Times obituary on Malcolm X from 1965. But look at how Malcolm X is regarded today. But look at how he was viewed by white America and the white corporate news media infrastructure or complex back in that time. Look at some of the horrible things they said about Dr. King while he was walking the planet just right before he got killed and shot in the face in the Lorraine Motel. It's very telling. So you guys, so Trump, is he really as bad as they make him out to be? The answer is no. He's not as bad as they make him out to be. Now, I don't know Trump personally, but I do know that when I see the corporate news entity go hard at a person like this, that means that person is bad for business as usual, which is good for people like me. I don't like business as usual. And Trump is about his business, but it's not about being about business as usual. See, Trump is he's an a-hole to y'all, but to me, he's necessary. To me, he's actually a patriot. He's more patriotic than the current occupants of the White House. You can't name us a war that Trump got us into. You want to be starting something, got to be starting something. He never started. He tried to end it. I bet you that Brittany Griner would have been home if he was in office. Because he tried to play nice with people. You want to make deals. You don't want to make war. You don't even want to make love a lot. You just want to make a deal. Let's make a deal. I believe black folks would have been in a better position to get reparations if we could deal with somebody like Trump. Because Trump trying to do the platinum plan and black folks left, and then black folks, I remember rappers, they love Trump. You can go back to all my favorite rappers. They rap out, they want to be like Trump. But what they Yeah, I'll get a little bit too comfortable here. I had unplugged my mic. I think y'all can still hear me. We'll find out. And Tupac was interested, like his perception of Trump early on versus like a lot of other rappers around his era, how they want to be like Trump, be rich like Trump, got swag. I remember Method Man, one of his albums, he had a skit with Donald Trump on it, like the Judgment Day album. I love Judgment Day album. It's a good album. I like it. And he had Donald Trump on one of his skits on the album talking about the listening party or something like that. So even in 1998, you go back even 2010, you had rappers still want to be like Trump. And now they like Trump is a pariah. Trump is he's the worst thing that ever happened. And to me, he's the best president of my lifetime. Now, this is me. I paid a lot of money to go to both of Barack Obama's inaugurations. For whatever reason, I went in debt going to both his inaugurations. Disappointment. I went down to Plains, Georgia to hear Jimmy Carter do a Sunday school sermon. And I thought Jimmy Carter was honest, but he said he didn't know what color Jesus was. So I know he ain't honest. God bless him. He's a politician. Hopefully he can make it to 100. I know he's in hospice care now or whatever. And it was the same year that he had an inoperable brain cancer, some type of rare form of brain cancer. He ended up getting in remission, but his grandson died, I believe, in December of that year. Same year we went down to see Jimmy Carter. And I say this is what Donald Trump to me is the best president of my lifetime. I was conceived during the Carter administration. I was conceived and born during the Carter administration. And I got to say, Trump is the one to me. He's the most honest liar. Like Dave Chappelle he's an honest liar. I remember when he said in his first campaign, on the campaign of 2016, that the game is rigged. And I wholeheartedly agree with him. And people say, well, he's benefiting from it. He didn't say he didn't benefit. He did not say he never benefited from the rigged game. He letting the folks out on the outside looking into the country club, letting them know I'm in the country club, and I'm telling you that the game is rigged for the average Joe. That y'all ain't gonna never get access to. I got access to, but I'm letting you know that they rigged it. It's not on the up and up. It's rigged. So that's what he was saying. Because I remember like he did one debate. They told me when he filed for bankruptcy. He said, "Look, I filed for organizational bankruptcy." He said, "I never filed person. My family never starved. My family never lacked for anything." And I believe because if a dude he found bankruptcy and still make a profit out of casino, he knows the game is rigged. It's like even when people say, well, he didn't pay his contractors. And somebody broke it down, a New Yorker who I could tell voted for Trump, one of my doctors, care doctors. And he was saying, look, Ron, I'm a New Yorker. This is what he did. He said, I had to help something my office built, and I put in my contract that it has to be built by a certain date. Let's say I say June the 6th. And June the 6th come and gone, the project has not been completed. So in the contract, in the contract, you put in, okay, if this project's not completed by so and so date, you start deducting money that you would have paid them originally from the agreed upon price. You start taking out money, and then you say, well, if it's not completed and I gotta help pay rent or something, y'all responsible for the rent payment until it gets completed. So if the contractor does not complete the job in a timely fashion, and there are already penalties in the contract, then of course they may not get paid all the money they thought they will get paid due to like them not finishing on time and other things. So, it's not honest to say that Donald Trump did not pay people and all this stuff. Then it's not honest to say that Donald Trump discriminated more against Black people than any other people as far as housing. The housing market, America has been built on discriminating against Black people, not people of color, but Black people. When he come in, Donald Trump did not invent redlining. Now, his father, Fred Trump, made the family fortune through building the projects. I think they built Queensbridge projects, the biggest, if not the largest project in America, Queensbridge. And also he built homes and subdivisions for GIs, for veterans coming home. So Donald Trump father got money from the government. See, like all these people talking about we want limited government. Elon Musk get billions in subsidies from the government. Walmart, they get all type of kickbacks. General Electric, they say these corporations are people, but they don't pay taxes. But yet they'll tax a poor person to death. They'll penalize a poor person for being poor. So this country is rigged. But Donald Trump daddy was getting millions of dollars from the government to build the projects, to build these homes. And I remember reading something to the effect that Eisenhower was getting irate with Fred Trump, Donald Trump's father, and his organization. Said, how is this guy, getting millions from us, and then he pocketing millions of dollars in his personal account? Call this guy to DC. Let's have a talk with this fellow. So Donald Trump, daddy was called to DC to, what you doing pocketing the money we giving you to build these homes and all that? Y'all can look this up, but it's a TV show, because people believe that Donald Trump is a time traveler. He may be a time traveler because there's a lot of interesting things in his life. His relationship with his uncle John Trump, who was a scientist at MIT for many years, an award-winning scientist. And also, he worked for the government, for the feds, when Nikola Tesla, well, Tesla, not Elon Musk, but the real thing. When he died in his apartment up in New York back in January 7, 1943, he left some notebooks behind, and I believe the government had Donald Trump's uncle, look into his notebooks to figure out what he was working on and all that stuff. And his uncle used to be at MIT. So Donald Trump is not an idiot, and he had a lot of respect and reverence for his uncle. So who knows? And then with Fred Trump, there's a TV show that came out, I want to say like in the late 50s. And it featured a guy named Fred Trump who was out west. He told the town they need to build a wall to keep the aliens out. So you can look at this show, might still be on YouTube. This dude named Fred Trump some townspeople out west into building a wall to keep out aliens. One of Trump promises was to build that wall, right? Build the wall, build the wall, build the wall. Okay, so anyway, getting back, I remember like Trump daddy, I read somewhere, I told Dick Gregory this. It was an article from New York Times, I think June of 1927, that talks about the Klan fighting with the police up in New York, I think in Queens, that the police got into it with the Klan's people and the Ku Klux Klan up doing a Klan rally. And it talks about a guy being arrested named Fred Trump. So I think it might be Donald Trump dead. So Donald Trump dead could have been a Klansman, okay? But at that time in the 20s, a lot of white men were Klansmen in America. It was a very powerful political organization. You had like over 4 million people that was in the Klan. And it's not just down south. You had the biggest Klan state was Indiana. Like every major political office back then in Indiana seemed to be Klan infiltrated. You even had a Supreme Court justice who was U.S. Senator from Alabama. Hugo Black was a Klansman. And he apologized for being a Klansman later on. And then he was pivotal. He played a pivotal role in the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in Brown v. Board of Education. It's Hugo Black. Look him up. But a lot of people, all our white folks were Klansmen back in the day. So, I don't hold it against the sins of the father against Donald Trump. I don't hold that against Donald, because the Donald, you don't have a problem with black people. To me, the Donald loves being around other celebrities. He's a narcissist. He likes being around celebrities. He's like being acknowledged. He's like being, celebrated. Okay, that's cool. But to say that he's more racist than any other white president or any president, period, is ridiculous. Donald Trump has not done the type of harm that Woodrow Wilson did to black people, and black folks voted for Woodrow Wilson. Donald Trump has not done the type of harm in his political career, and it's a short political career, as a Joe Biden. And Joe Biden told you clowns, if you don't vote for me, that means you ain't black. And Joe Biden, to me, he is the Klansman that sat by the door. He was endorsed by the Strom Thurmonds and the James Eastland and the Robert Byrds, and he's from Delaware, and they got a notorious slave history. And Joe Biden is Joe Biden, right? He probably don't remember who he is, but I remember. I ain't gonna never forget who Joe Biden is, Mr. Crime Bill, along with Bill Clinton now. And the Democratic Party got a lot to answer to, because this is ridiculous with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is being charged for what? 34 counts for what? This is not about no porn star. This is about we afraid to let that dude back in the White House to stop business as usual. Donald Trump is the best thing for America first. Joe Biden put everybody in every country before America. All these folks sold us out. You look at the Democratic Party. You go back to Ron Brown. Ron Brown was the first black Secretary of Commerce. He was a playmaker in the Democratic Party. And he was the bag man, from my point of view. He was the bag man for the Clinton administration because he was going to expose Bill Clinton back then for their connections with China, because he was getting money for Bill Clinton from China. And Bill Clinton said, like, it's like weird. It's like I read this magazine article. It's like it implied that Ron Brown was in the Oval Office and he threatened Bill Clinton because he didn't want his son to go to prison for some of the stuff they was caught up in. Some of the stuff he got his son involved in allegedly. He didn't want his son to pay the penalty. So he said, well, if you don't do right by my son, I'm going to expose all this stuff you got going on with China. Bill Clinton's Bill Clinton. Okay, player. Okay, so calm down, Ron. Calm down, Brown. Calm down, Brown. What can Billy Clinton do for you? So they did something to Ron Brown. They did something without his, they didn't care if he refused or not. But, the plane that he was on was supposed to have been ridden. No, Hillary was supposed to have been on that plane. And they switched out planes at the last minute, from my understanding. That's supposed to be the Hillary plane that Ron Brown was on. And they claimed the weather was bad, but my research, the weather wasn't that bad. But what's weird is that they claim he died in the plane crash, but they found some type of bullet hole at the top of his head. Dick Gregory got the autopsy photographs, x-rays from the forensic people at the Air Force Institute. Whoever did the autopsy, they gave him to Dick Gregory and say, look, we don't agree that Ron Brown died in a plane crash from the plane crash. We believe that he was killed. He was murdered. He was assassinated. Because, there was a airline stewardess that was on the plane. She survived. And they airlifted her to the hospital. By the time she got to the hospital, she died. Her neck was broke. Now, I think the air traffic controller, they got rid of him too. It's like, it's like how they did Dr. King in Operation Lantern Spike. After they got rid of Dr. King, they started cleaning up and getting rid of the witnesses and stuff. So, not to get out to deep depth, but, right when the Ron Brown thing was taken off, this when Lewinsky thing happened. The Monica Lewinsky thing happened. And the rest is history. And I remember really about all that shenanigans going on with Ron Brown. They had a video of Bill Clinton at Ron Brown's home going, and he was laughing. And then he saw the camera looking, and he started getting serious. Like, he started looking sad. But at first he was laughing like he got away with something. And then he saw the camera. He said, oh, let me just, oh, man, wait a minute. Okay, I'm so sorry. Oh, Lord Jesus. Oh, God. I miss running boy. Oh, God, Jesus. So, Bill Clinton's an interesting dude. But the Chinese stuff did come out when Al Gore was running for president. He was the vice president. So the China stuff did come out eventually after Ron Brown was dead and after this Lewinsky stuff went out. But the Democratic Party has done a lot to hurt the American people. It betrayed the American working people. It betrayed the labor unions when they got into NAFTA. It destroyed finance when they repealed Glass-Steagall, like the bank stuff we've been dealing with from 2008 up to now, because they repealed the Glass-Steagall Act that was put in place to prevent these banks from failing like that, from being overzealous and greedy. So the Democrat Party created the crime bill, destroyed the family, the black family. Some of the most married people in America over 60 plus years ago were black people. And now look at it now. You're talking about this single mother phenomenon, all this crap, fatherless homes and all this. This is about government design. It's like the drugs. Like I was telling people, look, the Godfather Harlem, it's not about no Bumpy Johnson. It's about the government, how they destroy our leaders and destroy our communities. They'll assassinate, they'll cut off the head, and then they'll poison the body with drugs. That's Uncle Sam. That's not no Bumpy Johnson or Frank Lucas. That's Uncle Sam. That's the biggest drug trafficker on the planet, Uncle Sam, man. And y'all, oh, it's our fault. We can't get together. We can't be unified. We was unified under Jim Crow, but y'all ain't want Jim Crow. Jim Crow forced black folks to deal with black people. That's one good thing about Jim Crow. It forced us to deal with us. Not just the so-called elites, but you had, like, in your community, in your neighborhood, in your community, everybody could be a role model. You had the doctor, lawyer, the dentist in the same neighborhood with the pimps, the prostitutes, the drug heads, everybody. You learn from everybody. It's a beloved community. You had your own people that police you, that understood you, that grew up with you, that knew your family, all this stuff. So they more than likely wouldn't kill you just because. But anyway, they saw your humanity. So to grow up in an environment like that is to appreciate all levels of humanity. And so we missing it now because I live in a place where they're creatives, but that we don't speak to each other. I don't know most of my neighbors where I live. And when I do say hello, they don't say hello back. That's okay. I'll keep it moving. But it's good to be neighborly sometimes. I mean, if I can know your story, I can have more respect for your present. You know what I'm saying? And for you as a person, what you can offer. But we don't do that. It's weird right now with all this connectivity. We so disconnected from each other. You know, it's like people are more socially awkward now than they ever been in the history of humankind. Because like people, I see people like be at parties and you got people on their phones, they're texting the person next to them. Instead of y'all just talking, looking each other in the eye, getting a full view of the body language, you on your phones just texting each other, not really being in the moment, which is unfortunate because like I think that the folks back in the day, Dr. King's day, they got an edge over us in terms of connecting with people because when the movement days, them days you had to live among the people that you were trying to lead and serve. You had to work with those people. You had to get to know those people. Like Bob Moses, the great Bob Moses, who passed away not that long ago. He created the Algebra Project to help black people or I guess people of color be more fluent in math and appreciate math more. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of math, baby. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of math, girl. So he was doing that, but he was a cat from Harlem, Ivy League educated, but in order to work down in Mississippi, he had to go down there and spend like not only months, but years down there living among the people, getting to respect the community leaders like MZ Moore and other leaders of the Mississippi movement to buy into what he was doing. But he had to earn their trust over time by working, eating, and living among the people. Now people are so disconnected that you got these folks on social media that they speak for people they never met. You know, you got these social media influencers and social media activists. They know how to hashtag up a revolution instead of actually creating a real one and leading one in the streets and as well as in the suites, I guess. But it's an interesting time we live. But you know, I often wonder what would Malcolm and Martin and Stokely and Huey P. Newton would do with this technology now. If they had it back in the day, how would they utilize it? But now, you know what's interesting? People are more brainwashed to me today than they were back then. You know, even though they had 3 networks back then, people still read and listen to the radio. My grandfather, my mother's father, he was born June of 1923. He'll be 100 years old this June. Lived to be 82 years old, World War II veteran. He didn't go to college, but he was probably one of the most well-read people I ever knew. And he was a country boy from Como, Mississippi. But he would talk to me about Langston Hughes and he knew about Richard Wright and stuff like that. I don't know if he graduated from high school. He just knew about these people. And he would read the newspaper every day. And he loved his baseball. He liked to look at the St. Louis Cardinals and the Cubs on TV. And it was weird because when I think about looking at those baseball games, I always get this like teary eyes because I remember when that cheap cigars he would smoke and make my eyes water. And sometimes even I look at the baseball game and just thinking about him, my eyes start watering. I think about the old cheap cigars he liked to smoke. And but he was fat. World War II opened him up to travel. Like he would talk about this is National Jazz Appreciation Month. I remember towards the end of his life, I used to play jazz sometimes for him and stuff like that. He said, "Man, I really, you know, I went to Central Avenue and the Club Alabama and the Dunbar Hotel, and you know, Central Avenue was like what Beale Street is in Memphis. It was like Cotton Harlem and all that stuff. There's Central Avenue in Los Angeles and South LA. He'll talk about going to Club Alabama on his Army weekend pass, whatever. Like, they go out and dance and all that stuff and have a good time in LA. And he talking about how he heard Lester Young for the first time in on Central Avenue, and one of his favorite musicians was Coleman Hawkins. He said, "Man, this Coleman Hawkins fella was something else." And I said, "You know, Granddaddy, Coleman Hawkins been dead since 1969." He said, "Coleman Hawkins dead, fella. Coleman Hawkins dead? Yeah, he been dead since like May 19th, 1969. Bean been dead, man." But I wish I would have recorded him. But like, you know, he's from the so-called greatest generation. He kept up with stuff as long as he had the newspaper. He was reading from the newspaper. He was interacting with people, but he was really interested into learning about the world around him. And he had a lot of insight and wisdom I wish I could tap into today about what's going on. But just look at those man on the street stuff sometimes from back in the day when they interview folks on the street. Cause you know how you contrast it to what they do. You know how late night talk shows will go out, like you know in L.A. they go out in Santa Monica somewhere or whatever they go, Venice Beach, and they'll start talking to people. They ask them how many states are in the union, and you'd be surprised what people don't know. You know how many representatives are in Congress, who's the president, who's the vice president, yada yada yada. So, but if you go man on the street back in the day, you'd be surprised how well read a lot of folks were. And that's why when the Warren Commission came out, a report came out, a lot of folks didn't believe it, but guess what they did? The next year after President Kennedy got killed, they brought out who? The Beatles. The Beatles came out of England. Some people say they're a product of Tavistock Institute. The Tavistock Institute will be the birthplace of MK Ultra mind control. But even John Lennon told Bobby Dick Gregory, who helped John Lennon detox off of drugs, that the Beatles were brought over here to get young people hooked on drugs. Music is powerful, man. Don't let people fool you. Say music is harmless. There's nothing harmless about vibrations and frequencies. The Africans use music to heal the body. They knew certain sounds and frequencies and tunes and all that stuff could heal. Music can heal and kill. Look at them with the rap, you know, a lot of death. Your words create worlds, the vibrations. And Kanye talked about how it affects the chakras, the 808s and all that stuff. So there's something to that. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you one thing. When I have problems sleeping, there's a song I play. They say it's the most relaxing song in the world. It's called Weightless, like without weight, WEIGHT list. Weightless by Marconi Union. If you ever have a problem going to sleep, put that song on repeat. You know, it's available on YouTube, on your streaming platforms. But Weightless by Marconi Union. I played that the other night. I had a hard time waking up. That stuff is so powerful. It's just a bunch of just vibrations and all. It's so relaxing. And then it'll put you to sleep and it'll keep you asleep if you're not careful. So that's Weightless. So don't tell me that music doesn't influence moods and affects people's behavior. It does, because you know, you look at how black folks treat each other. Like people talking about the manosphere and the black woman hate the black man and black man hate the black woman. But think about what the music our parents and grandparents listened to. All that love, the vibrations, and all that stuff that came through love. You know, you think about Al Green. Al Green's an Aries, right? Al Green had baby making music. You know, love and happiness. You know what I'm saying? You know, now like love and Jesus Christ. He got that church full gospel tabernacle. I suggest anybody come to Memphis, pay a visit to the Right Reverend Al Green. Cause a lot of his people come from out of town, out the country. You know, it's funny. He right in the heart of Whitehaven near Graceland, but a lot of us don't go to his church. It's on Hell Road, I think. I think it's Hell Road, Full Gospel Tabernacle. I went there a couple times. Shout out to Al Green. A lot of things done changed, man. A lot of things done changed, but Trump is like MLK. Their character assassinating him. First they love him, then they hate him. It's a game for fools. You know, they had you loving King, and towards the end they had you hating King. At first they had you loving Trump, but at the end they got you hating Trump. Make that make sense. So what is it? Because you know how the Pandora box this is opening up. You arrest Trump for this crap. Look out, Joe Biden. Look out, Hunter Biden. Look out, Bill Clinton. Look out, Barack Obama, even Jimmy Carter. You think about Barack Obama, the Drone Ranger. They use drones to kill American citizens without due process. They went over due process and killed American citizens in foreign countries with drones under the watch of the drone ranger. What about Harry Truman? Are they gonna do like Oliver Cromwell, exhume his body and drag him and hold him in court for the dropping the bomb? You dropped the bomb on them, baby. You dropped the bomb on them, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Are they gonna hold him like they did Oliver Cromwell, dig him up and hold him in, or even help Woodrow Wilson? I mean, you go. All the presidents do dirt, you know what I'm saying? Like, you supposed to have leeway to do certain things as president. This is unusual. So this is opened up a Pandora's box where anybody could be brought up on charges. And to me, Trump did a lot of things right. He don't get credit for it. And what's interesting? His former attorney general, who didn't want to do anything about the election thing, right? His father hired Jeffrey Epstein at the Dalton School up in New York. So Trump had a guy, I guess you could, to be fair, I say, if Trump dad was a Klansman, all that, you can't hold that on Trump. And I guess if, the attorney general, that like Trump was crazy, if his father was CIA spook, Office of Strategic Services, then CIA, then his father hired Jeffrey Epstein as one of his teachers at Dalton School. I guess you can hold it against him, but he is a part of the establishment. And the thing about Trump is a part of the establishment, but he is not like received by all. I mean, it's like the Kennedys were a part of the establishment, but they made some powerful enemies within the establishment. Trump is a part of the establishment, but he made some powerful enemies within the establishment because he's a real maverick. He's a loose cannon, but he's not crazy. He's crazy like a fox. And like I tell people, Dick Gregory was talking about Trump's shadow. People keep on thinking he was talking about Trump. People like black, he ain't Trump. No, this is really not about Trump. This is about what's coming behind Trump. That's why he feared Trump's shadow. So we're living in Trump's shadow right now. All the stuff that's going on, because y'all don't even get that Mar-a-Lago thing. Donald Trump did not do anything wrong. If you think about it, the problem is, it's like, you look at what happened to Donald Trump. The federal government looked into what Donald Trump is currently charged with. The federal government took a hard pass. We passed on this. This is nothing. This is a nothing burger. The previous prosecutors before this guy, this Bragg guy, man, if this is going to work out for him, he's going to be working with me at a janitorial service, I think. I don't think he's going to be... too bad, Bragg. You ain't had nothing to brag about for this, but they look into it. They ain't see nothing worthy of prosecuting a former or sitting president over. But this guy, I think he found something with this porn star. Stormy Daniels is forever famous. Why? She should barely be a footnote. But this is what you get president on, like all the stuff that presidents were able to get away with, and this is what you charge a former president with. And this is really about them fearing that Trump can win in 2024. Because like people kept on talking about DeSantis. I said, Trump made DeSantis. And Florida should be thanking Trump for giving them DeSantis instead of getting that Andrew fellow. Andrew Bad Sheets Gullum. Or Gullum, whatever his name. Gullum. Donald Trump saved y'all from that. He made sure y'all got Ron DeSantis. Georgia should be thanking Trump because Trump got Kemp. But Kemp and them, they don't know what loyalty is. I know loyalty has an expiration date, but they did Trump dirty down there. But Trump, they were talking about the last election cycle, all the big name people lost. Trump, a lot of people who were not big names who ran last election cycle, the big one with back in last fall, they got in office. A lot of folks that got Trump's endorsement or that they stood by the Trump platform, they won their respective offices. But the mainstream media, they want you to focus on the big fish, not the school of fish that got into the office, but they want you to the big fish. And then you got a question like even like Maricopa County in Arizona, did she really lose? And then it was like the same thing in Georgia when Stacey Abrams ran against Kemp. Kemp was Secretary of State. Is that a conflict of interest to be the Secretary of State while running for governor? And that's the same thing that lady did in Arizona. Was she the Secretary of State running for governor against Carrie Lake, whatever her name is, whatever. Trump is America's hope, last hope of America. I mean, he's a Gemini like Kennedy, and almost like JFK revenge in a way. They're trying to take him out, and they really can't, they didn't perk walk him. That's a good thing. They ain't have him in handcuffs because they knew they have a real insurrection. Because there's a lot of people that love President Trump. They'll support him. Hell, like Ashley Babbitt, they'll even die for him. So be careful what you ask for. And black folks, thank you, Sister Betty. You said for truth. Thank you, Sister Betty. We love you madly. That's gas money. Thank God. And I go to work. But thank you so much. And black folks, man, read some books. Y'all rooting for the wrong people. We always rooting for people that don't care for us. Trump ain't even a problem. Trump is not the problem. Trump is part of the solution. It's sad that I can't talk to older black folks about politics because a lot of them don't really know. I love them. They just don't. Even my own childhood minister, he don't get it. He's caught in his ways, and I'm more open and receptive to people's different points of views than so-called elders and people that so-called learned it and all that stuff. It's funny. When I work a job, I take pride in being a janitor. I really do. I love cleaning floors, mopping, vacuuming, sweeping, cleaning toilets. I get a lot of pride. It's therapeutic. It's cardio. I mean, mopping steps and stuff. And when I talk to people that work at these facilities, when we have conversations, they will say, "Well, man, that's some you know some stuff." I said, "Yeah, I know something. You know something too." But the thing about it is, don't confuse my job for who I am. This is just a job to pay some bills, and I don't mind being of service to the people. But I serve people another way by teaching them and imparting to them what I know to the best of my abilities using technology, and by expressing myself to be authentically me. I think that's very important to be who you are. I think people don't understand what a genius is, but the loneliest monk said to be a genius is just to be yourself, to be your authentic self. So we are all geniuses, those who believe in being who they really are, because it's how you make a unique contribution to the world. Like by me doing what I'm doing, I've been doing this for 17 years. Even before that, but I'm talking about the We All Be movement. 17 years in this April, I never made a lot of money. Never. It's gonna be interesting to see what I do when I do make that money. How my life gonna change. I'm still the same person, but it's a war going on, and a lot of us will have to pick some sides. We'll have to make some tough choices. We're gonna have to make some tough decisions. But it's a war. It's things that I used to take personal. I don't take personal anymore. And it hurts personally. It do hurt me personally, but I don't take it personal because we're at war. War for ideas, war for sanity, for peace, for love, for happiness. I don't know, man. It's fascinating. It's fascinating time, but people got to ask themselves a question: why do they make people that dream big things look crazy? Donald Trump talking about making cities. He got a vision for a unique place to live. He's a visionary in his own right. Dr. King was a visionary. Huey Long, the governor from Louisiana, the senator from Louisiana, was a visionary. And yet they make people like these look crazy. They got you thinking Trump is Hitler. Don't you know that Hitler was a liberal? Don't you know that fascists and totalitarian dictators come out of liberals? Don't you know that liberals, it's all about extremism? Being liberal, y'all think conservatives create Hitlers? No, the Nazi Party was the Democratic Party of Germany, and they pushed things to extremes, false flags. You think about the Gulf of Tonkin incident; it never happened, but it escalated our involvement in Vietnam, the Gulf of Tonkin. You know that Jim Morrison, the lead singer for the Doors, his daddy was involved in the Gulf of Tonkin incident. He was a rear admiral or admiral involved in the Gulf of Tonkin incident. And I believe Jim Morrison, they'll try to get the CIA or somebody like will try to recruit Jim Morrison for intelligence work. And he became a musician. But look up Laurel Canyon, Laurel Canyon, Laurel Canyon. It's a white guy that wrote books about, military intelligence. Like, you think about Operation Mockingbird, how the CIA and intelligence officials, they control our news narrative. They and the Defense Intelligence Agency, they put a lot of money into Hollywood to control TV shows, to do things like predictive programming. And yet we know all this, but yet we don't know. It just boggles the mind. And y'all believe Trump is the worst thing. Trump ain't been around long enough to do the damage y'all want to accuse him of. But Joe Biden been in office for decades upon decades. He was a senator. He was elected as senator since when he was 29 years old, and he's like what is he, 80 now? Joe Biden is doing a lot of things to secure his family place. Black folks be tripping me out. Black folks we're gonna retire at 65, and you gotta leave your house at 18. You can't stay with me at 18. But yeah, you ain't prepare your kid. White folks don't send their kids out to get jobs. They have jobs for their kids. They have businesses where their kids can come up and work in the family business. Jerry Jones' son don't work outside of the Dallas Cowboys. He worked inside the Dallas Cowboys. Joe Kennedy make sure his sons, he worked hard for his money to invest in his sons to be help for their political aspirations. Bobby Kennedy didn't have no real trial lawyer experience. I mean, he was on the council for Joe McCarthy, the Irish Catholic senator from Wisconsin. His first job was legal counsel for him, along with oh my God, what's that guy's name? Donald Trump's mentor. I gotta think. I'm getting brain feed. I gotta get off here. Roy Cohn, that's his name. Roy Cohn. Donald Trump's mentor. He was part of legal counsel for Senator Joseph McCarthy. Yeah, Roy Cohn, right? Roy Cohn. And Bobby, it was like Bobby Kennedy, his firstborn child. She was the goddaughter of Senator Joseph McCarthy, Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, former lieutenant governor of Maryland. Her godfather was Senator Joseph McCarthy, who people say he's a monster now. But he actually would tell the truth about communists infiltrated the American government. There were communists in the American government. They infiltrated the American government. That was true. First, he was a hero, and people loved Joseph McCarthy. They made him a monster then. He died under questionable circumstances at the Bethesda Naval Hospital, where they also got rid of Franz Fanon. Franz Fanon. They got rid of him at Naval Bethesda Hospital. They got rid of James Forrestal, the first Secretary of Defense. He got knocked off at Bethesda Naval Hospital. They did that weird JFK autopsy at Naval Bethesda Hospital. They're trying to get Donald Trump at Naval Bethesda Hospital. You see how quick Donald Trump checked out that mud. I'm good. I mean, he riding around in his car. Let you know that if something happened to me, it wasn't natural, right? So James Forrestal, I think that's the name. He was first Secretary of Defense, and he had a relationship with Jack Kennedy. Like, he was close to Jack Kennedy because Jack Kennedy rode on a plane with James Forrestal in Europe, and they both died under questionable circumstances. So it's nothing new. But I want you to study how everybody that's could be patriotic is mainly like a villain at the end. Like Huey Long, Dr. King, uh, Joseph McCarthy, James Forrestal, because James Forrestal was trying to stop us from getting the Israel thing started. Now he was an opponent of the Israel thing. You know, the nation of Israel was recognized under the Harry Truman administration. Excuse me, Harry Truman administration to me is very problematic because Harry Truman, on his watch, you know, Israel was established, right, and whatever you want to think. Also on his watch, CIA was created. He helped create the CIA. They problematic. CIA is very problematic. Um, he also dropped them bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, which ended the war. Cause I think that if they didn't do that, you know, MacArthur was looking at having 1,000,000 soldiers invade Japan. It would lost a whole bunch of people. So by Truman doing that, I guess it saved lives, but they wouldn't drop the bomb on Europe. I guess Europe surrendered at that point. Japan was still holding out. So MacArthur was actually looking forward to having 1,000,000 soldiers to lead to invade Japan, whatever. And it never happened, thank God. But could have been something else, a workaround. Was it easier to drop the bomb on Japanese people because they weren't white? Like, you know, the guy who planned Pearl Harbor, General or Admiral Yamamoto. Admiral Yamamoto, he went to Harvard University. He was trained at Harvard. And we taught him how to fly planes. So the guy who masterminded Pearl Harbor went to Harvard University and he learned how to fly planes in America. So America is interesting. Everybody can get ahead except for black people. We'll train everybody but black folks. You know, Civil War, who they trained? Them Confederate generals went to American schools like West Point. That's how they learned how to fight. That's why the fight was so deadly because everybody knew their moves. Everybody knew each other moves. You know what I'm saying? But it's gonna be interesting. Like, this is a bad precedent to do this to presidents because they all have done dirt, classified or declassified. And Trump did no different as far as taking documents from the White House after his presidency than any other president. And it's my hope that people start using critical thinking to know that this guy can't be that bad. Because the Hunter Biden laptop, you know, after Biden got elected, the mainstream media said that the laptop was authentic. You know, you had a renowned newspaper that was founded by one of the founding fathers of America, Alexander Hamilton, a very popular founding father, got a play, a very successful Broadway play about his life. The newspaper he founded broke the story about the laptop, and Twitter circumvented, censored them, blocked them from sharing their information right before Election Day 2020. And this is hard to talk to people. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance. How can you hate a man like Trump? And when you got a man like Joe Biden that is wreaking hell for over 50 years on your life, you rewarded this man and you want more hell. The devil is only qualified to give you more hell. And with Trump, bread didn't cost that much, eggs didn't cost that much, gas didn't cost that much. Black folks was actually getting something. Black businesses, I know black businesses that benefited from some of the Trump stuff. Black colleges were getting some money. Y'all made a Dion, but Trump was trying to give y'all money, and you know, I don't know, man. People weird, man. I just whatever. But I just want, and also let me close it out with this. I said Trump is MLK. He's being treated like MLK. He is. Because, like, think about MLK's letter from a Birmingham jail. Who was he addressing in that letter? He was addressing people, his peers. Who is causing Donald Trump the most grief? His peers. They're crucifying this man. All they're doing is growing his legend. Donald Trump will be vindicated by history. Make no doubts about it. He'll be vindicated. But sometimes when you get vindicated, you don't always be around to get your roses or smell them. And that's okay. But my thing is, this voting rhetoric. You know, people say, well, you know, I'm in Memphis. There people run for mayor. I hear a bunch of things about stats, and they say, well, you know, Memphis is 70% black, whatever, and only 25% of the population vote. Why should we vote if you don't count the votes? And why I'm voting for people who just want to keep business as usual. Now, I don't mind running, but I want to win. I don't mind serving this one term, whatever office. I just want to shake up things to make it easier for change to take root. And I know you got to sacrifice some things to do things like that. But like I think about it like this. I've been doing this We All Be movement thing for 17 years. And I'm still doing it. In spite of if I could pay a bill or not, or in spite of if I'm happy or if I'm getting laid or I'm in a relationship. I'm not against relationships at all. I'm not against people. It's weird. People ask me, why you not married? You know why I'm not married. You know how it is out here. Don't act like you don't know why I'm not married. Like, man, he's like you're a good man. Yeah, there's a problem. I'm too good of a man. But we'll see. But anyway, the Angela Reese thing down there at LSU, I'm glad that people supported that sister. I'm glad people took a stand against these bozos, so-called social media influencers, so-called celebrities that call people idiots and their kids, and it's a double standard for black athletes versus white athletes. Like even Lamar Jackson, I'm tired of people crapping on that man. It's not my business how much money he trying to make or get paid. Like it's weird that people obsess over people's money. Why you pocket watching these people, man? Y'all not pocket watching Joe Biden in Ukraine. Yeah, y'all worry about Dr. Umar Johnson. I'm not worried about him if he get his school. And that's his bit. That's between him and supporters, man. Why y'all not pocket watching the IRS or the Federal Reserve or these banks that keep on getting away like bank robbers? Why nobody pocket watching them and calling them out? I mean, people like these. It's weird that people just obsessed with sports. But like Caesar said, give them bread and circuses. They don't care. Y'all, I mean, like the LSU thing. I mean, come on, man. They the champions, right? Why you gonna invite the runner up with the champion? Dr. Jill Biden is full of crap. That's not how that works. Everybody got to have participation trophy. No. That's why people can't stand Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan didn't believe in no participation trophy. It's all or nothing, baby. It's like I was looking at one of these shorts on YouTube. I think like Shaq talking about Jordan one time when, I guess right after Jordan came back from his first retirement, playing Jordan. I don't know if that was the Eastern Conference Finals, but he knocked Jordan down. He hit him hard. They were like a hard foul. And he felt bad. Shaq felt bad about it. So he was trying to go and help Jordan. Jordan, don't help me up. Don't ever help anybody up. That's what Jordan told him. Something like that. Don't help me up, man. And like my thing is, like, that's how I feel. Like, I'm not one of those people anymore. I don't care if I have an event or something like that, it's community, will be community oriented. I don't feel bad if nobody hardly shows up. That's not why I did it. I would love for people to show up, but I am recording it, and it'll be here for posterity. And my thing is, I'm about planting seeds. I'm not interested in trying to placate people or feed their egos or to bow down to their wishes. I'm more about I'm who I am. God put me here for a reason. Let me do my God work and keep it moving. And I want to encourage people to stop looking for folks to sign off on what you do, to validate you. It's not important. Love yourself enough to do what you think is right for you to do at the time you're supposed to do it in, which is your time, whatever your time may be. Learn how to move like that. Like I'm really a one-man movement. Now, I do help people. They help me from time to time, but I just make stuff happen, man. I'm a manifester. I'm a Taurus. That's what we do. We good at manifesting stuff. If you want something to happen, holler at a Taurus. We'll make it happen for you. Like we like the enforcers of the zodiac. We know how to make stuff happen. So it is what it is. But that thing, like the LSU thing, ain't no big deal. Like they talking about, well, she did this and the white girl did this in Iowa. Why do people get upset? Like it's stupid. Is it gonna change the price of bread if you right or wrong on that? It don't make a difference. And as a black person, I found it insulting that really is. Like I don't have the energy for that type of stuff, but it's people that go live and they talk about all this silly stuff. It's not even important. Like this pearly thing. I never heard this white woman until like a couple days ago. Everybody talking about I don't care about that because I'm solution oriented. I actually do stuff offline. Like people talking about YouTube activists. I do YouTube. I've been doing YouTube since January 2009 so far. But I've been doing stuff like We All Be and volunteering and being an activist or artivist a long, long time. I don't do protests. I build. I don't protest. Instead of me protesting about what I want, I build what I want. You see how that works? I build. I don't protest. I build. My actions. I utilize my energy towards what I want to exist and manifest. I don't have time to try to join somebody's pity party or their country club with all that stuff. But like I'm like a Donald Trump in a way. Like I want them people like, yeah, I get the scholarship, but I'm not one of the folks that people I try to figure out how he get in the room, how he get that scholarship. He don't belong with us. He's different. I am different. And then different is good. You need people like me. It's funny to me, like I created We All Be 17 years ago because I wanted people like me to have a voice, who's been marginalized, who've been made invisible. I want people like me to have a voice. I've been doing this for 17 years. I think about it, I said, man, if I didn't start this, who would have heard me? And then if I didn't start this, like would I had crossed paths with Baba Dick Gregory or Judge Joe Brown or Dr. Randy Short or people like that, or like investigating these murders, and now they trying to erase that I even investigated anything and said that I might be trying to self harm myself. And thank God I got backups on backups. So I'm gonna figure out a way to get this information like preserved and made available for even generations not yet born. So you pay a price for being a visionary, right? I used to be trying to slow down but now I got to speed it up. And y'all catch up. Y'all don't catch up, that's fine. If y'all do, more power to you. But it's funny now for me that everybody got this energy now. I just don't have the energy like I had 10 or 15 years ago about things that people say they passionate about. Now I am still passionate, but like I do things in a different way. I move in a different way now. And I thank God that I found some wisdom on how to proceed on the path that I need to be going anyway. So I'm grateful for that. And folks up here, when we put them on, man, I ain't putting you on, man. Like I know a boy named Donnie Williams. I don't know him like that. But y'all be trying to try me. And I have all my receipts. You just gotta go through my resume, my friend. But I'm not interested in debating people that's not my equals. No disrespect. And like people want me to interview them about things. I said, man, why don't you just go live and talk about, people say, well, can you interview me about this? I said, not really interviewing people right now. But I will start back again. But like I'm so used to putting people on, I'm gonna put myself on, see what happens. I think folks want to hear from Brother Ron. But let's see, check on this chat room. Some of y'all got daddy issues. It's like some of y'all, I think y'all older than me. Some of y'all older than me. I can tell y'all got daddy issues. Y'all looking for somebody to be your daddy. I can't be your daddy, man. Grow up. I'm just looking through the chat. I ain't been looking through him. It's weird, man. Cause like I don't know some of the people. Like people weird. I don't. My life is. I'm basically open. I'm not that hard to find. I'm not hiding behind an avatar or anything like that. I speak my mind, and even in my jobs, people recognize who I am, and it ain't no big deal. Thank you, Sister Betty, for the donation once again. We love you madly. Thank you so much. I'm actually doing work in the community. It's funny how people say, "Well, you ain't doing the work." A lot of y'all don't want to solve anything. Like I told you, like when I got involved in some of these like cases about black people getting neutralized, I figure out sometimes the hard way that people don't want things to change. Things that will benefit the average person, they don't want it. They want things as is. I'm in Memphis. They still talking about what happened 55 years ago. There's a lot of things that happened 55 years since. And people got to decide what they want. You can't have it all. You can't serve two masters. That's what people got to realize. And it's hard to take a people seriously. I don't know, because we still haven't held the government accountable for Katrina. You talk about reparations, but you don't really want to do the work it takes to secure said reparations. You really don't want to follow the paper trail and make that paper trail accept. Y'all still care about celebrities. Y'all still interested to see what so-and-so got to say about something. Y'all still spending your rent money on high concert tickets. You're not willing to spend your rent money on liberation, but you want to be enslaved to your vices. So this is where we at, the people. I can't take a people seriously. They don't take what they want seriously or what they need seriously, right? So we got to figure out where we at as a people. Like, do we need more Malcolm X's and Dr. Kings, or do we need to be more serious about what we want and identify our objectives and respond and act and plan accordingly? And that's very important. And I refuse to let a clown I never met get me upset about anything, because like when you begging a person to put you on, then who's the real pseudo whatever? So with that said, thank you all for tuning out to tune in to get in where you fit in. I just want to make sure I do this live. I know everybody gonna agree with what I said. Also, I want to say about Swarm. I didn't get a chance to say it last time. Like Dominique Fishback is a very talented woman, but I'm wondering about her Tony character. The one at the end of the series, she starred her alter ego Tony, whatever. She was I guess a lesbian, but she could pass for a dude. And I'm wondering, like, was that acting? Because she did it too well. And I started laughing at the Tony character because I know a couple of Tonys. It's like these lesbians or dykes, whatever you want to call them, they tend to gravitate towards me for whatever reason. Because we both like the same thing, but for some reason they love gravitating towards me and sharing their thoughts about things. And that's interesting. But you can't spell fanatic without fan. Remember that. And a lot of folks, the way y'all go crazy over your sports celebrities and entertainment singers and stuff like that, that's how you should be going fanatic. Y'all should be fanatics about your liberation, about getting your truths told unapologetically. So be unapologetic about being you and getting your truths told. That's very important. Because Dr. King, his dream wasn't all. Black folks didn't all want to be. A lot of black folks didn't care for Dr. King's dream. They thought he was crazy. A lot of people still think he's crazy. But like he said, human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. Human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. But y'all talking about Jonathan Majors. I'm going to do a show about Black Images Matter. There's a lot of shows I want to do. He lost his contract with the Army, right? He was doing some Army commercials and advertisements, and they dropped him. My thing is, who cares? Because why are you telling people to be recruited to the military when we still don't know what happened to Lavina Johnson? What's going on in Fort Hood? All them soldiers getting killed and disappearing in Fort Hood. Why are we worried about the Army? How can Jonathan Majors accusations give you a black eye when you already had the black eye? You know what I'm saying? Lavina Johnson. Gloria Davis. I think that's a sister named Gloria Davis from St. Louis, who got killed and talking about she suicided herself. They tell Lavina Johnson, who's from St. Louis, suicided herself. and it's evident she was murdered because they poured corrosive liquid on her vagina to hide the evidence of rape. I mean, let me see. Gloria Davis. Is that Gloria Davis? Yeah, Gloria Davis. She was like a part of some big contract scandal overseas, and they killed her. Telling her it was suicide. They killed Lavina Johnson. Yet Jonathan Major saying, "Oh, you should join the. Yeah, you could be in the army. The army got so many sexual assault cases and stuff in the army, men and women. And you telling folks to join, and you can't protect your grandma in your hood. Police come in, no knock raid your grandma's house, and kill her in her 90s, and you talking about I'm gonna kill the enemy overseas, and the enemy overseas become your boss at home. The government give your so-called enemy overseas all type of loans and incentives to come over here and be your boss. So you really confused, and you worry about some Kaepernick kneeling and Kaepernick getting a golden parachute buyout from Nike. Ain't worried about no Kaepernick. I don't care. Black folks still getting killed. Ain't no kneeling stop no black person getting killed. Jackie Robinson never saluted the flag during the national anthem. He never, stood up for that. And he talked about it in his autobiography. I don't know if it was the Pledge of Allegiance, that national anthem. He refused to acknowledge that because he felt like a stranger in his own homeland. And this was a World War II veteran who got court-martialed and won. And he was at Fort Hood, Texas. I think Fort Hood, Texas is a psyop that needs to be shut down. And it's named after a Confederate general, I believe. Look how many veterans, soldiers getting killed down there and disappearing. That's ridiculous. But yet, Jonathan Majors, he make the Army look bad. Come on, the Army looks bad because the Army looks bad. Look at the history of the Army. Let's not forget about Devil's Punch Bowl down in Natchez, Mississippi, where the Union soldiers killed over 20,000 black folks, allowed them to die and bury themselves in a pit by the Mississippi River where peach orchids grow. And I went to the Devil's Punch Bowl. I didn't go in there because you got to have special guides and alligators and snakes and stuff. But I want to try one of those peaches of my ancestor. I want to eat one of those peaches. People say, "Oh, that's nasty." Y'all eat food at fast food where they be spitting all over your food. While they, think about it, you go to restaurants. I hate going to a restaurant because the waiter be over your food talking. I said, "Please, like Olive Garden, I want the cheese. I don't want your spit in my dang Parmesan, my chicken Parmesan. I just want the cheese while you shredding the cheese. Don't be talking over my food." But people, people probably spit over your food at these restaurants, and y'all worry about, man, you gonna eat a peach of there was the soil was the peach came from dead black folks' flesh. Why not? Shit. I know some cultures think if you eat the dead, it makes you stronger or something. I don't know. But I'm eating peaches. But but y'all be thinking about it. People spitting on your food while they cooking your food. People spitting. I ain't even trying to spit on purpose. People that's talk. You ever be at a restaurant? They be all your food talking, coughing and shit. I'm a shizzle, But anyway, I'm just saying, I still eat my food. I'm still here. You need some germs. You need to test that immune system every now and then. That's how I look at it. Like I hate when I go to a place like a sandwich shop or something. You see the person, they touch their hair and they put the glove on. I say, okay, you touch your hair and then you put the glove on. But you didn't wash your hands, but you touch your hair. And I said, well, they touched the end of the glove. They ain't touched like the fingers part of the gloves. I guess it's okay. Sometimes like, well, I didn't get sick, so I guess I'm okay. Got to test that immune system. But anyway, that's it. Yeah. That's why what's happening now is that you are seeing how the sausage is made, like how life really is. We're seeing everything how it's really happening, what it is. And a lot of us don't like what we see. Because you want to live in Wakanda, but your reality is Rosewood. You dream in Wakanda, but your reality is Rosewood. Anyway, thank y'all for the comment section. Yeah, you don't know what you eat. Even like when they pack your food, you don't know what's going on in them factories and stuff. You just don't know, man. Everybody nasty ain't the same. Everybody nasty ain't the same. You know you're nasty. When you pick your nose or scratch yourself, and you and cooking your food, at least okay, I did that to me, but you're not doing it to anybody else. Then you like, I hate going to a restaurant and you use the same public restroom as the workers, like especially if you go to the restroom and the worker is doing number two, they came out the stall, you go in the stall, whatever, you hear the water on, you hope they actually wash their hands, and also they put soap and water, and you hope their fingernails were manicured. You hope that they cut their fingernails down so they won't have any feces in their fingertips. So, I hate when they try to put lemon in your water and your drink. Lemons be dirty. They say they find like human feces and everything on lemons. You know what I'm saying? So they put the lemon to the side, but they want to put it inside your drink and stuff. Like, these people weird. Don't you want to make a tip? Don't you want me to be healthy? You know what I'm saying? I don't understand, but they're trying to kill us either way, because even these people they talk, I don't even how people pocket watch. They watch what people eat. I don't care what you eat, long as you survive, man. That's you, because you can't even trust none of the food they give us, man. Because when it comes down to making money, it's not about your health. You think about McDonald's and stuff. Think about how much people eat fast food and stuff like that, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm not knocking McDonald's and all that stuff. I mean, everything in moderation. But if you live long enough, things catch up with you, and that's the price you pay. That's why you need health care, because they're making sure you sick so they can make money off of you. Because I think America is the only country where they allow big pharma to advertise the way they do, during our sporting events and other things on TV. That's ridiculous. Then you take these medications and you cure one thing, it causes 50 other problems. And then your doctor would tell you, "Oh, it's fine." I said, "But they say it causes thyroid cancer." And some of my people in my family, they have issues with their thyroid. "Oh, you be all right. You don't have thyroid cancer. You just had your physical." Well, maybe next time I might have, because I took this damn medication. Well, you knew about it. It was all over the package. See, they talk out both sides of their mouth, man. They talk out of both sides of their mouth. So you don't know what to trust. But anyway. I know. I'm gonna stop. Yeah, I've been in here. I love Houston, but Houston, man, that humidity is off the chain. I'm in Memphis, but man, you got to have an air conditioner in Texas, especially in Houston. But that's the secret recipe. The sweat. I mean, sweat is the secret recipe. But I mean, as long as it don't make you sick. I mean, I know that when people talk, they gonna spit don't come out. You open your mouth. I had an uncle who passed away 20 years ago this July. Uh, I miss him, Arthur Jr., Arthur Taylor Jr. My uncle, we used to have Sunday dinners. He'd be the main one telling my mom or my aunts to cook Sunday dinner. And sometimes he'll sit next to me. And he had a speech impediment, so he'd be spitting everywhere. Like, Jesus Christ, Uncle, Jesus, spitting everywhere and telling jokes and spitting, but he was funny. And I remember, like, he actually died of complications from HIV/AIDS. And towards the end of his life, he developed some sores on his mouth. He developed, let me see. Yeah, it's a secret in the South. He had got sores in his mouth and it developed like scabs. He ended up developing scabs over his lips. But I remember when he'll go to food stands and places like that to get something to eat. And my uncle, he always, he had a speech impediment, whatever. He used to stutter sometimes, but he was brilliant. He was a singer, and he could tell one of the best storytellers I ever encountered. But towards the end of his life, he developed. I used to take him to his appointments downtown when he was dealing with his health crisis, and it was weird because he had charisma about him. He had he had some green eyes. I think he had greenish brown eyes, hazel, whatever eyes. And like people be in a spell talking to him. Like he'll be eating a hot dog and spitting everywhere. Nobody give a fuck. They're like, excuse me. Nobody care. Like they're just looking at him talking and laughing. I said, what the hell, man? Like, but then like when he died that July 2003, like he still had the scabs over his lips. The funeral people was able to pull it off of his mouth, and his lips were all right. His lips were normal. They pulled the scabs and shit off. I mean, excuse me, they pulled all that stuff off his lips, and his lips were fine. So I think that was interesting. But he has some amazing personality. But I used to hate sitting next to him doing Sunday dinner because he'd be spitting everywhere. I'm like, Jesus. But I'll tell you, a lot of folks spitting your food, you don't know it, and that's why I like going to the drive-through, because I don't. When I go to the drive-through, I just give them my card and I just look the other way. I don't even want to look at them. You can hear a cough or something like that. So you start looking at them, you start seeing folks scratching their faces and touching their nose, and here I'm like, man, really? Damn. I'm like, you don't know what they doing. And I hate going to Subway. I ain't been to Subway in a long time, because when I want to go to Subway, I want to go when there's people outside. You know, when you see people like customers when the cars are parked, they ain't wash their hands. But you're just hoping that, okay, there's a lot of people here. They probably didn't wash their hands, but since they working with as customers there, I didn't see it. I can't say nothing about it. That's how I feel about it. I don't want to see it. I know they nasty. I know these people don't got good hygiene, but I don't want to see it. And if I don't see it, I can't complain about it. It can't traumatize me. I know that's weird, but I do. I just look the other way in drive-thrus. I don't go to Subway unless there's customers out. They got their cars parked outside. There's a line inside the Subway. I don't mess with it. Yeah, I believe that. You don't know what you're eating, man. I really don't. You don't know what you're eating. Sometimes it's necessary. I be trying to cook my food because you know what your nasty is. You okay? You could be okay. Everybody nasty ain't the same. Yeah, they do, but sometimes they got attitudes, Luna. Sometimes they be having an attitude. And it's been a while since I ate at Subway, actually. But they be having people be taking it personal. It's not even personal about it. It's your health, and people don't care about putting you at risk. Like I said, like I've been in restaurants. Remember, I was in San Antonio, Texas, this past June. Every time I go to Texas, I used to want to go to Whataburger. That'd be like like one of my traditions. I go to Whataburger, getting me a patty melt. That's their best burger to me, the patty melt. And we went to San Antonio, and it was late night, early morning. I went down there. It's downtown San Antonio by the Riverwalk to a Whataburger. So I went to use the restroom before I ordered. I noticed that one of their workers did number two. He was coming out, and I was coming in, and I just hope myself. I said, I hope he cut his fingernails. I hope they ain't too long when they trap like feces, and I hope he actually wash his hands. And so like I was, then next thing I know, he going inside the kitchen. He probably working on the fries and the burgers. I don't know. I ate my burger and fries thinking about that, but I didn't get sick, so that's a good thing. I said, I wonder if he worked on my burger with the mayonnaise and all the other. I was like, oh God, I don't know, man. I be thinking about weird stuff. Better pack my own. I'm just tell the truth. They do be big mad. They do. They do. They get mad at you when you just tell them wash it. I mean, look, man. I look. When I'm working and people say, you know what, Ron, I don't want you to vacuum in here. I won't vacuum. And sometimes I spray some freshener, air freshener. Folks got allergies and stuff. They don't spray it here. Please don't spray it. I don't like, man, I hate these people, man. I said, okay, no problem. I'm sorry, man. I mean, yeah, people do take it personal. You don't know nobody going through. I try to be kind, but yet, man, I mean, is this a donut place I like going to sometimes, but I don't go there all the time because I noticed that they don't really wear gloves a lot, but then when they don't really wash their hands, like they don't even sanitize their hands, like they're touching the donuts, then they touch the money, and they repeat steps 1 and 2. But the donuts are real good though. But you gotta wonder, maybe it's because the germs, the extra germs they got for touching the money and all this and not sanitizing their hand. Because I hate when people especially food workers and waiters, they'll touch their face. I hate when people like touching their face or their hair while they dealing with your food. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. I'm like, man, do you really gotta do this? And then you gotta be over my food and you talking. I'm trying to pull my water away from you. I'm trying to pull my plate. You steady trying to find, like, you hovering on my food. It's like, maybe I'm a weirdo. Maybe it shouldn't bother me like this, but it does. It really does. This why I said, yeah, Whataburger good. Now they got several Whataburgers in Memphis now. We used to have Whataburgers back in the day. They went away, and now they brought them back in the last year and two, and they be crowded, man. They building Whataburgers all over Memphis area. Like, they got one in South Haven, Mississippi that I went to, but it's been months because, like, it used to be like a treat traveling even to Atlanta to stop in Alabama and get a Whataburger on my way back to Memphis, or when I go to Texas, I would get a Whataburger. But now they here, I was like, I don't even go to Whataburger like that. It's been months. It's like since the summertime I had a Whataburger. But that patty melt is the truth. But I wish your son well. And he probably make sure he fix your food for you if you get some Whataburger. Make sure, I used to work at Burger King when I was a teenager, and I would make my own sandwich, man. I make my own original chicken sandwich, add everything, stack it up, my onion rings, get my little pie, whatever. But I used to make my own food because I saw how people was doing. Everybody ain't clean. All clean ain't equal. Okay, I'm gonna call it a night, man. I'm a Donald Trump. Donald Trump loves fast food. I think he loves quarter pounders and stuff. But you know what, Donald Trump? People talk about Donald Trump. Is that Donald Trump is very energetic for his age. Biden, on the other hand, he's just several years younger than Biden. Donald Trump he almost 80. He's not 80 yet, but you could tell he's very alert. He's helped. Biden's out of it. Biden's on autopilot, and but I'm just saying, I don't have no problem voting the third time for Trump. That's all I'm saying. I should have learned from 2020. You know what's crazy? A lot of people say they didn't know how to wash their hands until the 2020. You got grown people in their 40s and 50s. They didn't know you supposed to wash your hand with soap and water for a certain amount of time. And they married and they got kids they raised. So everybody nasty ain't the same, man. Like, you dealing with people, man. Everybody normal ain't the same normal. You know what I'm saying? Everybody nasty ain't the same nasty. And teenagers are teenagers. He'll learn, hopefully. But anyway, let me get on out of here. I think I spoke enough. It's 2 hours. Like the words from Brother Heard, please spread the word. We all BTV. One word you heard. Support the movement. You cash out your support $ R2C2H2. That's $R2C2H2. Your Vimo, your support at R2C2H2 at R2C2H2. Google Pay, PayPal, or Zelle support. Email R2C2H2 at gmail.com. That's R2C2H2 at gmail.com. You can also Apple Cash it, 901-299-4355. That's 901-299-4355. Also buy Artivist Art, R2C2H2.com. That's R2C2H2.com. You can wear Artivist Art. Got my Billie Holiday. My man, my man, my man. She's an Aries. Billie Holiday's an Aries. Her birthday is coming up. You're on YouTube, go below the description. Access the official shelf for our Teespring store, R2C2H2's place. Get you that gear, man. Get you that swag. But let me read the disclaimer. I don't know if I touch upon everything or anything I wanted to talk about, but I did my best. But Donald Trump is the MLK of our times. He is, and history is going to vindicate him. But notice how they villainize people that go against the status quo when the status quo don't really benefit the whole of the people. You got people going against their own best interest. Like, I remember Occupy Wall Street movement. And what troubled me back then about the Occupy Wall Street movement was that they didn't want to defund Wall Street. They ain't want to cancel Wall Street. They just want to occupy. They want to be a part of the establishment. It was never about getting rid of Wall Street. It was about getting inside the country club. So you got a lot of folks that think if they support these bad this bad legislation and stuff like that, that one day they too will be a billionaire. Most of us will never be billionaires, let alone millionaires. But because they need poor people to make a profit. You need the poor. The poor will be always be among us because you need a group of people to exploit. The so-called elites, the so-called real minorities, they need a group of people to exploit to keep their wealth. So you had some of the greatest transfer of wealth happen in the last 3 years. So black folks, please wake up. It's like you look at the NAACP. The NAACP turned down the $5 million reparation plan, and then they took $50 million from Wells Fargo. The NAACP National NAACP took $50 million from Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo had a hand in the subprime mortgage meltdown that took home ownership from black people. So they took 50 million, a group they're supposed to recognize or advocate for the priorities and the objectives of black Americans, took a $50 million payout from a organization that destroyed generational black home ownership. So where is the love? There's no leaders. We have no leaders. We have no friends. We have no allies. So NACP, they say, "Oh, $5 million. We don't believe you. You need more people." They turned it down in Cali, San Francisco, whatever, supposedly. Then the national one took the $50 million from Wells Fargo, who has not been a friend to the black community. Stuff is insane. I actually know, I met the current national president of NAACP, Derek Johnson. He used to be the president of the NAACP down in Mississippi. Like, I investigated a case about a young black man getting chased by a tank and a dog unit from Parchment Penitentiary by a drunken white militia. And people thought I made that story up. And so I had newspaper guys from Mississippi saying, "That's one hell of a story you wrote there, man, but you might get sued." I said, "Well, I believe God is on my side," because what I was thinking when I first heard the story, I heard it from my good friend, the late great civil rights advocate, activist, Sister Margaret Block. She told me, "Ron, I gotta tell you a story. This young black kid getting chased by a tank and a dog unit from Mississippi, from a Parchment Penitentiary, Mississippi, and getting shot at by a machine gun." I said, "When this happened? Back in the 50s or 40s? No, it happened last Thursday," or something like that. So I called the son, the guy who was being attacked allegedly. He was the son of a prominent black lawyer in Clarksdale, Mr. Ellis Pittman. So I talked to him. I talked to. I talked to the news producer down in Greenville, Mississippi, because they did the initial story about this incident that happened in the Delta, about this young black man getting chased by a dog unit from Parchment Penitentiary, as well as getting chased by a tank and stuff like that. And then the producer, when I talked to her, she asked me, "What did I hear?" I said, "I heard, well, I just told y'all." And I was saying, "Was it true?" She said, "Yes, it's true. Matter of fact, we went to the property of the person who was in charge of the militia or whatever, the group, and he's a Civil War gun enthusiast. He has cannons on his property. His name, I forgot his name. But his father was a lawyer for one of Emmett Till's kidnappers and killers. He was on the legal team for one of Emmett Till's kidnappers. John Witten III. The guy that led this militia against this black boy was John Witten III. And his cousin was a powerful congressman from Mississippi, Jamie Witten, who served one of the longest tenured or serving U.S. congresspersons in history. So he came from a very powerful family. Like, his father was a lawyer for the men who killed Emmett Till, kidnapped and killed them, allegedly. They say he had cannons on his property and everything. He had the tanks. So I wrote about this. I did a press release, and I just started emailing news organizations, because the lady, cause I talked to Ellis Pittman too, the father of the boy. And he told me that he was about to talk to the FBI. This was Sunday. back. Was it Sunday? It's about 2009, like August of 2009 or something like that. I'm about to upload that. Whatever. Anyway, I talked to the father. He said yes, this happened. He was currently about to talk to the FBI and U.S. Congressman Benny Thompson, the guy who was, Donald Trump got to go. And, Benny Thompson ain't worried about what's happening in Jackson, and they trying to Jim Crow the Mississippi legislator. He more worried about the orange man than he is about the black man in Jackson or Mississippi, for that matter. But anyway, I wrote the press release, right? And then the Alternative Weekly or whatever, the weekly newspaper down in Jackson, along with the state president of NACP, they went to investigate my claims. Now, this is the thing. I just relied on what I learned from the news producer, from my good friend Margaret. She's a righteous ancestor now, and from the father of the victim. And the newspaper from Jackson, I think it's called the Jackson Advocate. I'm not sure. And Derek Johnson, they went up to the Delta to investigate. That paper wrote and confirmed what I said based on what I heard from people. What I did was I saw what I heard from people. Then I relied on my own imagination. Like, what would Ida B. Wells do if she was me? That's what I did. I wrote about it. I got it out there. And evidently, it made a commotion. Like I said, I had newspaper editors from Mississippi call me about it, saying that we might run a little bit of this, but we don't know. You could be facing a lawsuit. I said, well, either way, ain't no such thing as a bad publicity. And what I told them, not realizing the seriousness of what they were saying, what they were implying, but they verified that what I said was true. And so I remember having a couple of shows on Blog Talk Radio with the father, was a prominent lawyer in Clarksdale, and with other people, and they were calling in from around the country, talking about this John Wooden III. He was a character, and all the stuff he was infamous for. Then kind of found out he was on the reason why, because the lady who was the news producer at the news station in Greenville, they said that they released this stuff to their parent company, ABC. It's supposed to have been playing on, I don't know, it was 2020 or Prime Time, or the one with Ted Couple used to run, one of those shows, and it never came out. So that's why I wrote the press release initially, because I never, and then I had a couple shows about it, and I remember Mr. Pittman, I didn't get paid for it, but what happened was Mr. Pittman sent me $200 just because of the publicity I was able to get for the case about what happened to his son. Now, I don't know what happened to the son after that, all this stuff, but it's sad that several years later, like several years ago, that Mr. Pittman was killed in his office in Clarksdale, his law office. Somebody murdered him. A guy who he contracted to do his home, to build his dream home, went into his office and killed him in front of Bill Luckett. Bill Luckett passed on too. I think Bill Luckett ran for governor of Mississippi at one point. He was a lawyer and business partner with Morgan Freeman, the actor. Morgan Freeman, he was born in Memphis, but he was raised in Mississippi. He's from Charleston, Mississippi. So one of his good friends, Bill Luckett, was one of his business partners in Ground Zero Blues Club. And he actually was present in the office of Ellis Pittman when the contractor shot Mr. Pittman to death. And it was like shocking, because I never met Mr. Pittman. I interviewed him a couple times. It's like he was a good man, but unfortunately he got killed in his office like that. That was several years ago. And We All Be. Well, what if I didn't start We All Be? Who would have reported that story to get that type of attention and some type of sense of justice, I guess, for the victim? I had a platform. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know all the trouble I could get into, but I just did it because it was the right thing to do. So I think about that stuff like, man, I can't be that bad of a person. I'm doing this stuff and not really getting compensated for it. But I got to tell these stories, so by the grace of God. But anyway, disclaimer, the views expressed by host and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group Incorporated. We All Be News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that is usually supplied by the corporate news entities with those viewpoints and expressions which may be marginalized or ignore for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information, and letting the general public be the ultimate judge in deciding on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens. Thank you for your support, and thank you all. I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. The people that have been with me, riding with me, and we all be for a long, long time. Know that the best is yet to come. I'm about to get me some sleep. I'm just listening to that. I'll tell y'all that Marconi Union wait list by Marconi Union. If you have problems sleeping, put that bad boy on repeat, and you be like you got knocked out by George Foreman in his prime. It'd be so hard to get up. But anyway, thank y'all so much. Uh, he said, Gail, what's up, Gail? Been a long time. Took your picture down. That pretty face. Do cannonballs explode? I guess I don't want to. I think they do. That's a good question. Good night, everybody. Romero, thank you so much, everybody. Good night, Sister Luna. Thank you for the moderators. We love you madly. Good night. Good night. And the best is yet to come. One, love. Yeah, I gotta get up. We'll be at work at 5 o'clock. We'll see.